In this video, we're going to talk about installing a capital vending LED kit. This is in an older Dixie Narco BevMax 2 or 3. The installation procedures for a BevMax 4 are different, and there's a unique video for that one. On this machine here, when it came from the factory, it actually had 2 fluorescent lights. Both of them over here on the right-hand side. With this kit, it's actually, you do have the ability, you could add a third LED strip at the top. So when we sell these kits, it comes with it, comes pre-configured either to replace the 2 on the side, or you can add 1 on the top just to make it really bright. Basically, it doesn't take very much more time to put the 3 LED strip kit in. But you know, I have my machine here now, and what I'm going to do just to is just a safety precaution, I'm going to go ahead and turn the machine off. So the power switch is down here on the very bottom. So now I can turn my power off, and then the next procedure, you're going to be kind of working over here on the right-hand side. And what I'm going to do, I'm kind of pulling this putty out right here. Sometimes you'll get the this bushing as well. So I'm just removing this. And this, do not throw this away, it's very important. This is replaced. So I've taken it out on this inner side. In the event that you're going to be putting in the 3 kits, the 3 LED kit, you want to also remove this putty in the back. And then I'll kind of, at the very end of the video, I'm going to explain that. But while you're removing it, if you have the 3 LED kit, go ahead and remove that back putty. But just one thing I do recommend doing, if you have a little magnet, like I kind of like to use that to hold my screws. So this is kind of one tool that's nice to bring with you. Like I also like to have a Sharpie. And I'm just going to mark the top of this delivery port here, that both tops black. It just, when you're putting it back together, this part is somewhat symmetrical. So I just want to make sure with this marking, it'll avoid the chance of you trying to put it in backwards. But basically, this upper and lower panel are each held in with 3 Phillips screws. In the event that yours are kind of yellow and dingy, I would recommend buying them before doing this kit because they're very inexpensive. And then if you put these beautiful LED strips here and then this is yellow and dingy, it's just not going to look the way you want it. But in any case, so I'm going to remove the 3 screws that hold this clear plexi in place. And then after the screws are removed, this thing, it'll kind of come out. You might need just to bend it a little bit, so especially if it's yellow and old, you want to just have replacements with you if you're doing this LED kit on location. So now I'm going to move to the lower panel. This piece came out nice and easy. This lower piece is a little bit shorter than the upper piece, so just keep that in mind when you're replacing them. So at this point, I have the panels off. I'm going to go ahead and remove the fluorescent bulbs. So at this point, like I've spun it, and it's kind of a little tough, so I have my finger in here at the top. So I'm going to take this out. Very important, when you remove these, I recommend that you kind of get them out of where you're stepping in your work area. This one's typically easier to remove than the lower, a little bit more area for your fingers. So kind of feel it click into place. Kind of remove this up and out. Okay, so at this point I've removed both lights. Then this little delivery door here is basically pretty simple to remove. Just need a screwdriver with a flat edge, and what you're going to do is there's little tabs here, so I'm going to like you can on the back side, if you want to push, it's easy to push the tabs back. Then you can kind of see from this front edge, essentially you're just kind of pushing this tab this way, and the back one I pushed away. So this piece of plastic on this machine is it's kind of held in place with 4 tabs. So sometimes it'll break apart, the door will fall out, which is normal. Kind of catching everything. So I have my 3 pieces here. This piece will fold back here, We've marked them so we won't try to put them in backwards. The reason I removed this door is I just need access to get back here. Basically, like I recommend when you do this LED installation, you don't have to remove any of this wiring. It'll be disconnected. So I'm going to just pull this original power cord out. The reason is when I run my LED cord down here, I'm going to use this channel just to kind of tuck it in nice, but nothing really needs to be cut. So at this point, I'm going to install the upper LED strip and then do a quick test. Alright, so at this point, I have my power supply, so I'm going to feed this from the cabinet side. I want to feed this through. I'll let this safely dangle. So here, because there's a male and a female on the LED strip, it's just important that here you're putting the female up at the top. And I can kind of feed this wire back just to keep it neat. And then this has just adhesive on it, so I'm just going to remove this adhesive. And then I like to put this, you know, back like this. The part that had the LED strip, I like to put it on here, and it'll kind of shine the light inwards. In some cases, on these, this piece of metal here, there could be tie straps. In general, I've been able to put this adhesive over them. You may want to cut them out of the way, which I'm going to do on the bottom just to show you. That's kind of a smart way of doing it, or you get a little bit more surface area. But in any case, just kind of put this right here. Then you'll kind of come to, you'll have this connector here. In the LED kit, there's a little extension here. So I'm going to connect this. And it fits nicely. This piece right here will be in the upper section. And basically this thin wire will fit into this channel. So I just kind of feed it in. And then to hold it in place, I actually use the original wire cable. That kind of prevents anything from touching it. This is actually, I feel, the hardest part of the installation, and this goes pretty quickly. It's not very hard to do either. Alright, so here with my cutters, I'm just cutting back this tie strap. And I'm doing this just so I have a flat area to mount the LED strip. I kind of recommend and prefer this. It takes one extra step, but I think it's, you know, better. It's good to do this. Okay. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and connect the second LED strip. So we'll connect here. It'll fit nicely. Then I'm going to just remove this adhesive backing. I kind of place this evenly on top of where the original fluorescent light bulb was located. So this sticks nicely. This right here, like I'm going to just kind of tuck this down nice and neat out of the way. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and just plug these strips in and make sure they light before I start putting everything back together. So after I verify these work, I'm going to go ahead and you'll see I'm going to use tie straps to kind of dress this so this excess is out of the way. This right here I'm going to kind of tuck here just so nothing blocks the light. But here I have my like this. There's this power connector right here has a 2-position female connector. This is going to plug in it at the top where the power supply went to the first ballast. So I'll show you where this is the 120 volts that's coming up to this terminal block into the ballast. Those are no longer going to be needed. So just before I start sealing everything up, I always like this to test. So I'm going to connect it, and then when I apply power, there's about like a 3 or 4 second delay in the LED strips coming on, but they both should come on at this point. I'm going to go back down to the power switch. So as you can see, both of the LED strips have come on and they're shining a lot of light here. So now I'm going to go ahead and start dressing the wires and putting the machine back together. I'm going to turn the power off just for safety. So you get several tie mounts kind of come with the kit, so you just want to peel the backing off and just, where you place them, I just like to keep the extra wiring harness, just so I'm going to tuck it in here, just so it looks nice and neat and just doesn't block the light. So that was a pretty easy one. This lower one, there's typically you know, extra cord just because the extension is longer than it needs to be. One trick you could do on this one, you can actually tuck the wires down behind this metal, so that kind of gets it out of the way, and you know, it'll never really be able to block the light. There's extra room there to do that. So at this point I've dressed all the wires, and I'm going to go ahead and replace the cup delivery door. Like these pieces all come apart, so this part here we marked black, so this is the top. Likely these fall apart when you're taking apart, so I'm going to have the rib part facing me. This back here is flat, and then you can see the screws. Like one little trick that I've used that helps it a bit is I like to just get a piece of masking tape. And this is, you know, or electrical tape or just something, and this just kind of helps this thing stay together a bit, just because you're kind of doing this with one or two hands. So basically, the way I find it easier, I'm going to take this piece, it has the black on the top, and this is going to go through the existing hole. So very simple, and then this just kind of be flush. Then you have to kind of hold this with the back and line up the four holes here are going to click into place with the tabs. So I kind of click the front ones, and I'm just holding the back. Boom. And I just want to make sure all four tabs are held in place. You know, you can be a little rough with it. Then I'm going to push this just to make sure I remove this piece of masking tape that I used to hold it in place. Otherwise, this might block up the delivery. So once you're at this, the hardest part of reassembly is done. I mean, just that takes 30 seconds to get it back in place. The next step, I'm going to go ahead and install the lower light diffuser. This one is the shorter. Alright, so that is in place. Alright, so here I'm installing this upper light diffuser. This one needs to be bowed a bit, and when I'm installing it I always kind of deal with this lower edge here, just because I want to kind of get it over this metal trim, or that's kind of where it tends to fight me the most. So I bend it a bit, then I just want to kind of slide it forward. You'll know that you kind of have it in place when all three screws line up, so you know you want to make sure this is not loose. I mean, it'll kind of click in place very nicely. Then you'll have your three screws here. You just want to make sure all three screws are replaced. Okay, so at this point, the majority of everything's been done. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and just remove this magnet as part of my tools. And then I'm going to go ahead and just, the recommended kit, or most of our customers actually buy and install the third LED. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about that. So just now that I put everything together, I'd like just to turn it on and make sure everything's in working condition. So I'm just going to turn it on. We'll make sure these work, and then I'm going to go ahead and install the third LED kit. So here, both of my LED strip kits are, you know, they're working, so I'm done with the majority of it. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and kind of let you view the movie from over here, and I'm going to mount the power supply safely, and then talk about parts that can be removed and show you how to put in the third optional strip. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and just turn the machine back off. And so here's our power supply with your kit. Came with a couple pieces of hook and loop Velcro. So I'm going to go ahead and peel one side off, put this here. So now I'm going to mount this. I kind of, where I decide to mount this, I don't like to mount it up here where it could, you know, on a moving truck, fall and hit the board, like if there's no board cover on it, like on this sample machine. So on this machine, like I'm going to kind of put it out of the way, but I'm going to actually place this above this wiring harness here, so that kind of gives it a little bit of extra support. And then I'm going to, this wire will come back up here, and I'm going to dress this with some cable mounts and tie straps. You could actually just hold it in place using the existing wiring here if you'd like. Basically just, just to make it look nice, to get all these wires out of the way. And I'll run this up and mount it here. So that kind of keeps it neat. Very important step. When we first started this, we had removed this bushing came with this putty right here. Do not skip the step of putting this back in place. So I guess the goal is I don't want warm air to get into your refrigerated cabinet. So placing this. Okay, so at this point, if you want to do the third kit, you'll have this splitter and this. So if you bought the 2 LED kit, basically this part's not going to apply, but it'll just take me a second to show you, or just want you to understand how this works. And then what I'm going to do a bit further back, there's a second hole comes factory drilled, and it's going to have this same putty. So basically I'm removing this putty on this side. Sometimes I could poke my finger through because I need to also remove it on the inside cabinet. So here I've removed it. And this stuff is just obviously reusable, so I've removed it. Just easier to remove it on the front and back side. So I'm going to go ahead and take my third LED strip. And what you need to do is pay attention that you have to have this side right here, so I'm actually going to connect it this way, so that way you can't connect it wrong, or I don't want you to stick this in incorrectly. So once you've connected the splitter, I'm going to push both of these sides from this inside cap, from the cabinet, refrigerated area, into the side cabinet. So at this point I've kind of put my splitter over here. I have this connected. So I'm just going to pick a spot, definitely nowhere near this belt. So peeling back the tape. And I'm just going to center this right here. So it just puts, I'm kind of putting it up front as far as possible so it puts a lot of light down on the product. So I've mounted that. One thing to be very careful with, this strip here, you could actually connect another strip and loop back. There's enough current with the power supply. But this piece here, obviously looks bad if this is dangling. So I'm going to get with one or two of the tie mounts included with the kit, kind of dress this up so your customers, so nobody sees this. Hopefully this will look good. So what I'm going to talk about now is replacing this putty. Because I haven't. This is for the back hole.
Okay, yeah.
And then I'm going to just kind of let you zoom in, and this is.
Or did you not test?
No, I haven't. I haven't tested it yet.
Okay.
So, so I'm just talking about. Well, cool. Actually, so now I should test because that's just the normal procedure, right?
All right, so you're good. You're already recording.
All right. So at this point, I've hooked in the splitter. I'm going to go ahead and turn the power on again, just to test. As you can see, this third strip adds a dramatic, amount of light up here, so it definitely makes your machine look very bright for your customers. So at this point, I'm going to turn the machine back off and do the final steps. This putty was removed from the front and the back on this rear hole in order to install this top optional LED strip. So I'm going to go ahead and replace this. This one goes on the inside. So at this point, if you'd like, the job is done. This ballast right here can be removed with this plug. Like if you don't want this in the machine, just, you know, we'll point, and there's a terminal block back here. So those parts are no longer required. You're welcome to, you know, leave them in because they've been disconnected. You know, so you could leave them in or take them out. Basically, everything's been done. You know, if you have any loose wires, you definitely want to address those. And then the final step, I'll just, you may want to put a window cling on the front, just so your customers know that you've cared enough to update their machine.